Hi, this video is the first part in a stream that we did earlier this week where we helped another streamer, Poofiekin, build her first PC. She wanted to use it for gaming and streaming, so we spec'd out based on her budget. We ordered all the parts, installed the parts, and then we installed Windows and did the first benchmark to test the performance. And we did this all on twitch.tv/MapleStank. You can check out our stream there. You can also check out the other parts of the videos here on YouTube. So if you do, please remember to follow and subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. We're going to do just a quick teardown, a quick breakdown of all the parts that we had purchased, that we had set up for Poofy to purchase and put into her PC. She had given us a budget, and then based off of that budget, we basically put together our part list. And it composed of these 10 parts. Essentially, a computer only needs to be 9 parts, and if you're using a site like PC Part Picker, if you're starting on this website here, all you have to do is start from the top, from the CPU down to power supply. These are the things that are an absolute requirement for the computer to be used and bootable. Additional to this, you need other things. In some cases, you need the thermal paste, you need the Windows license that you have to install. But in terms of hardware, to build a computer, these are the 10 parts that you really need to get things started. 9 parts, rather, and the 10th being a monitor, adding to that. But obviously, if you have a monitor already, you can compromise for that. So, starting with, we have the Intel i5 CPU. The i5 is mid-range. It's like a tier above like the economy class of their CPU, the i3, and it's right below the i7s, which is like their high-performance, high-end. The 8th tier, 8th generation processor, it doesn't have a K at the end, which means that the processor cores are locked. You can't overclock this processor. If we wanted to go for an i7, which she really wanted, and I really wanted her to have one too, it would have cost her at least like another $100 to $150. It would have just blown out her budget by like $50 to $100. This is a CPU cooler by Cooler Master. That's like one of the most highly rated CPU coolers. It's pretty old, to be honest with you, but the reason why it's so popular is because it has all the core technologies that you look for in a good cooler. It has the heat pipe technology, it has good radiator, has a huge I think it's 140 millimeter fan on the front. And this fan could be easily replaced with this clip right here on the side to mount a new one and make it more efficient if you want one that's quieter, faster, whatever you want. The motherboard we went with was the, like I said, the high end. We got a Z370 chipset, and Asus and MSI are both great brands, but looking at the prices, it looked like MSI just had them beat. She's probably not going to go with SLI or Crossbridge or anything like that, so she's not going to have to worry about that at any point, but the option is there. It's got 4 memory slots instead of 2, so we're going to be utilizing dual channel. She's not going to have 4 slots full, she's going to have 2. It has an M2 slot here, so if there is a future where she wants to put an M2 drive in for a very fast SSD, the ones that are 5 times faster than most solid-state drives out there, you could do that. It installs right into the slot here. It's got some standoffs that you plug into these spots. It's got VGA, DVI, DisplayPort, no HDMI, but it's got 4 USB 3s. Corsair has always been my memory. I actually go with Dominators, which is the more higher end of the spectrum of the memory, but Vengeance is just as good. Vengeance is good memory. We compromised on a hard drive here on performance just because of the cost. I mean, for $45, man, you can't beat a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive. That's not bad at all. Video card is kind of the other area that's hard to sacrifice on, right? Because if you want to get a computer that's good enough to stream, if you want to get a good enough computer that's going to run games, you need something sufficient. You need something that's going to be able to keep up with both. You're rendering a game twice, once for yourself and then once for the render for OBS that's going to be going out to stream. So for that reason, you have to have a pretty substantial setup. This cooler actually looks pretty nice. The fans look good. And, you know, MSI makes really good cards, so it's a good brand. This NZXT case, so this is like their continuation on their S-series cases. They have these new H-series cases that are very clean, very plain front with nothing on them. No stealth drives, no nothing. You can't install a CD-ROM on this, and this bezel is attached. You can see this is welded, so this is one whole piece of the case. The glass isn't mounted traditionally like how they usually are. They usually have 4 screws in the corners, and they hang the glass against the side of the case. It leaves gaps for air, for dust and things to get into the case. It doesn't look clean when you're looking at it. These arms here for cable management, this is where the cables come through from the back of the motherboard to the front for the power, for the connectors, everything else. This piece of glass sits on top of that shroud, on top of that PSU shroud, and then it just mounts. There's 2 little plastic hinges that it mounts in the corners, and it secures itself with one piece. See the little 2 plastic pieces right up here, and then the glass secures itself in the back corner with a thumb screw. It doesn't have the traditional plates where you have to screw in each and every individual boilerplate, or rather backplate, for each of the expansion cards. Wrong! You just take out these 2 thumb screws here, loosen it, and it rises up. It lifts to the right here, almost like a guillotine. No vertical screws, no having to go inside the case and get out the screws. You just open these 2, lift it, and then you have access to all the ports here to lift out the slots, lift out the cards. From this angle, you can actually see the fan shroud I was talking about on the front. So this little piece right here has 2 screws in the top and the bottom. You take these 2 thumb screws out, and this rectangular plate comes out of the front, and you can mount what you want to that. You can either mount just 2 more fans to the front for intake, or you can mount a radiator so that you can hook up a water cooler to it and bring in the the cold air from the radiator that way. Some nice organization for cable trenching here. You can see that there's a cable trench right along here. This curved piece right here is for the wiring from the power supply up to the motherboard. You're supposed to run it along these trenches. And then there's also another one up here along the top, and I'm guessing that's for connectors for the, maybe for the fans if you don't want to hook them up to the motherboard, but more than likely that's for the CPU connector, the extra additional 12-volt connector that goes to the motherboard. The power supply, so something mid-range, right? You want to get something, if you can afford it, go for something that's 80 plus certified, because this is a power certification for not only how good the power supply is, but also what it's capable of producing and how clean the energy is, like how efficient that power supply is. It's semi-modular, so what that means is it has a power connector built in, so it has a 24-pin power connector built in. The CPU connector, the peripheral connector, which is going to be for a SATA for one of the power connectors for the hard drives, 2 connectors for the 12-volt rails for the graphics card. So most graphics cards only need 1 12-volt rail. If you get it like a 1080 or a higher series graphics card, some of them need 2. She got a brand new monitor. This is a 1920 by 1080, 60 hertz, nothing special, but it'll get the job done. If she wanted to go from this 8400, this CPU right at the top, and upgrade to a 90 something, a 9700, a 9800, whatever the series is, she wouldn't be able to do that until she at least updated to this version of the BIOS, the version 26, because it wouldn't support it. It wouldn't work with it, okay? Chipset drivers are used for, again, like the BIOS, instructions from the motherboard. It's going to tell the motherboard how to better use the USB ports, how to better use the North Bridge and South Bridge, which is the way to talk to all the other components on the motherboard. The sound card, the PCI Express slots, the ones that you use for your video cards, the all these slots.
And then which going?
Yep, I'm talking.
Hey,
how's it going?
Yes.
And then
okay.
Sounds good.
Figured out what it was. Yeah, it was a voice mod was open in the background, and it took priority over everything.
Oh, okay. I've been on stream like just breaking down all the parts and like why we got everything and stuff like that. So we've been chatting. It's been fun.
Well, I haven't heard a single part of that, and you may have to repeat that for us.
And don't worry, you don't have to rewatch it. You're gonna live it.
Yeah, I'm not worried too much about that.
Just make sure you can get yourself situated where you can like sit down next to the table in the case if you can.
You're talking to 2 people who love to sit. So.
All right, cool. Oh man,
That's
look at that.
on the right monitor.
Look at that awesome green screen.
This is the graphics we're gonna be using. You wanna help me out with this, Maple? Cause.
Yep. No, you're right. You got it. That's the graphics. You got to keep going.
Okay. This is the motherboard, right?
Yeah, it's a little delayed, so I'll tell you when it comes up. But yeah, the MSI 370 is the motherboard.
Then we have the cooling system, which is a given. That's how I knew what that was, because a fan, you know?
Yeah, that's a beefy cooler. And to be honest with you, that's one of the more complicated cooler setups. So you getting that set up today, you should be very proud of yourself once you're done with that.
I am proud of myself. I'm doing a dance, but you won't see it for a second. This is the core that I got. I know I could have gotten the i7, but I kind of... This one will work perfectly fine for what I need, so I'm okay with that. Memory cards. Memory sticks.
It's like very hard fallout. Absolutely. Wolf, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were playing it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not picking this up just yet until we get ready. But
is that the case?
The case.
All right.
It's in matte black.
Yep. That's actually going to be the first thing we're going to open, so that's good.
So I have both of your chat open, and I apologize if I like reach over and talk to your people. They can hear me,
Not
right?
at all. Yeah, you talk to my people, man. Be with my people. All right,
Yeah.
ready to get started?
Yes.
Let's do this.